Okay, so this is going to be a quick and dirty thing just on a couple of questions I keep getting. I can't do a lot because, as most of you may know, my car is up on the lift for and wheels are off, etc., for some upgrades. So forgive the hood and so on and so forth. But anyway, so a couple of things. First of all, settings. Getting a lot of questions about factory resets and stuff like that. So the factory reset is under settings, system, restore factory settings. Now, if you're having Bluetooth issues, particularly before you do that, under factory settings, there's a separate Bluetooth reset. I do not want to do that, but if you're having Bluetooth issues, that's something to try. The other thing, just as a reminder, the car mode has to be right, and this can change after updates. So the first thing, if you get weird stuff after an update, check the car mode. If your Bluetooth is having issues, the Bluetooth reset is an easy thing to do. Then you have to reconfigure it. In sort of extreme circumstances, you can do a factory reset. You're gonna need the password for that one, which is the same as the factory settings password. So that's one thing I get. Now, a lot of people have been asking about the reverse view. So if you have an OEM camera, a backup cam, and you have a DSG, like a non-manual, meaning, then the right is to take this Audi OEM CAN bus that I have selected here. That'll work without any additional wiring. You don't need a trigger wire. You don't need to hook up the power wires. Just do the basic install with the harness and it will work. It works for me. I've never had a problem with other DSG cars with the Audi OEM. Now, if you have a third-party camera, then you're supposed to select the right type, CVBS, HD, and then you're going to need a trigger. Now, almost none of them are going to trigger off the CAN bus. You're going to need to trigger most likely off the 360 DET option that's listed here. So you would select that type of camera. Now, there is also down here, there is the Audi OEM 360 DET. This has been put in new for people that have a manual, a manual transmission, but the OEM Audi camera. You don't need to do the wiring for the camera. You don't need to plug any video stuff in. It just all goes to the CAN bus, but you do need a trigger wire in that case, which you're supposed to hook up to the 360 DET lead on the harness. It's 12 volt positive, if I remember correctly. You can pull it easily from numerous locations. Most people will pull it from the actual reverse light in the back and run it down the side. But that's what you need to select if you've got an Audi OEM camera or in a manual transmission. Changing the car image, real simple. So long press here on the car. It'll give you this list of different stock options. At the end, there will be an option. Now, mine has a picture because I've done this before. Yours will not. It'll be blank. Press this. It'll give you an option to load from the USB, which I don't have in right now. So if you press that normally and you don't have one, it will let you load. You have to have a USB drive with it at the root, plugged in. It has to be a PNG file. It has to have a transparent background. It has to be no more than 500 pixels wide, and then you want to get the perspective wide. So mine's like 498 by like 300 or something to get that in there. All right, so that's how you get that. Next thing I've been getting a lot is turning off the Audi voice control with ODB 11, right? So I did do this. I did it by going into the module down here, multimedia. Okay, so once it's loaded, I went to long coding, and then I went down to byte. I went over to byte 16, if I remember. So see, it says byte 0. So I'm looking for byte 16. Now, here, I selected byte 16, which currently is 15 for me, value 15. and notice that I have speech dialogue system cabriolet checked, so it's not active. That's the one I had to change. If it's unchecked, that means it's active, and that lets the actual OEM one work. Once I checked that, it was fine, and now the button just goes to my RSnav. What time is it?
It's 7:46 p.m.
Another question I get about ODB 11 a lot is how to enable green screen or aux. The easiest way, in my opinion, is to go into the pre-packaged ones. I'm trying to remember where those are. Oh, they're apps, sorry. So under the apps, there is a number of these. So I won't go through all of them, but if I remember correctly, there is one for here's one that I get asked about a lot. Engineering menu. If you don't have your green screen enabled, this will let you enable it. But also, if I thought there was an aux enable here. Oh, video in motion. I get asked about that one. I don't do that, but maybe it isn't. Alright, my mistake. Well, the green screen one is there. The aux you can do, and that's actually a green screen item. There's instructions there, so if you don't have a green screen, you can use the green screen and then you can enable it. I thought there was a one there, but I'm wrong. Anyways. So the last thing I'll quickly cover that I get a lot is a lot of people see that I run Torque and immediately assume that I'm running a Bluetooth stack on the RSnav. I am not. Bluetooth does not work on the RSnav. It never has. It's supposed to in S3 eventually. I know Daniel is working on it with developers. It's complicated. I don't know all the details, but basically they had to use some software to sort of hijack part of the Bluetooth stack in order to support the Bluetooth calling feature. So because of that, it doesn't work like a normal Bluetooth stack. So I do not use Torque Bluetooth. I have a USB connector for the ODB2. You can buy them on Amazon. They're pretty cheap, like 60 bucks. And so I wire that from the ODB2 port to a USB port on the back of the RSnav, and that allows Torque to run. Inside Torque, you just simply have to select under settings that it's USB, not that it's a Bluetooth, which I want to say it defaults to Bluetooth. But it does work. I have no problem getting data from it. It's pretty responsive. Matter of fact, it's probably more responsive than the Bluetooth one I had on my old car. And it's reasonably easy to set up. So I do not have Bluetooth working on the RSnav. I don't know anybody who does. I'm pretty sure it's not possible. So I'd like to get my Draggy set up. I'd like to get some other Bluetooth items set up, but I can't. So I'm one of the people waiting. I'll be anxious to see it when it works. But until that, just because I'm running Torque, I'm not running it via Bluetooth. I'm running it via USB.